Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Name's Joel, obviously the host, with Jake alongside me. Very keen rip in round 6 review. Plenty of talking points once again to come out of this week's, and with this weekend's footy games all across Australia, which was really cool to see, and could be a sign of the future with growth happening, things like that. So it was good to see that. Ladder's a bit of a shake-up. We'll go through that. Again, shout out to Freedom Finance Group, our sponsor of the podcast. Any financial needs, please contact Con and his team. Let him know that League of Inches did send you, and you'll be able to go in and get some help. He'll look after you price-wise, things like that. Get you the best deal that's on the market, and help you out with all your financial needs. He's the best in the biz. Please go ahead. Give him some social media love as well, but get in contact if you do need. Jake, good weekend of football. I will go into the ladder very, very shortly just to give everyone a rundown where everyone sits, but just your quick summary of the weekend that was.
Well, it hasn't been as big of a round of upsets as it has been over the last 2 weeks, which was nice. I say nice, except I tipped as if it was going to be upsets, and that didn't happen. So I'm still failing in that regard. But no, it was good footy all round, except for probably 2 teams. I think they know who they are. They know who they are. We'll talk about them soon. But yeah, it was good week of footy. Good weekend.
I wonder who you're talking about there. So just the ladder for everyone. Bulldogs still remain the only undefeated team in the competition, obviously coming off the bye this weekend. They sit on 12 points. Storm are clear on second with just the one loss, 10 points. Then there's a group of 4 teams, the Broncos, Raiders, Rabbitohs, and Warriors, all on 8 points. Tigers, Sea Eagles, Sharks, Dragons, Titans, Knights, and Cowboys, all on 6 points. A huge traffic jam around that 6-point mark. The Dolphins and Roosters on 4 points. And then rounding out the bottom of the table, like a huge shock so far, the Penrith Panthers 16th, and then the Eels on in 17th, both on 2 points. No, not just, both on 2 points there. So just the one win so far for both teams, which, again, we will discuss in a bit more detail. But just off the ladder there, Jake, we'll go into every team, obviously, shortly, but anyone that just quickly points out to you and a shock, whether it's a good shock or a bad shock?
I'm not going to mention the Panthers because I think we all know that is just unbelievable, and it's been in the media everywhere. I think everyone is looking at that going, wow, that's so crazy. I won't go too far into that. I'll tell you who my biggest surprise is. In number 5, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Geez, they have been impressive to start this season out. The Wayne Bennett effect has come into play. Of what everyone says it is, the Wayne Bennett effect seems to have come into play, and they're sitting strong. And they almost got the win this weekend, even though they had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, no, 100%. I keep going back to that post we put out with ladder predictions, and then a couple of days later, the news dropped. Everyone bagged us deluxe, saying South, how can they be in the top 8? Blah blah. The Wayne effect, guys. The Wayne, never doubt him. For mine, it's the Raiders sitting in 4th spot. Quietly going about their business. I know they had a couple of bad losses in there in terms of opponents who they were versing and how they played, but to be in 4th position, it's a very close ladder, we know. And I feel like I'm turning into a bit of a Raiders fanboy somehow, but I just really rate them this year. I really enjoy watching them, unfortunately on the weekend against my own team, but their style of play, they don't stop. They're relentless with what they're doing. We'll talk about them further, but yeah, for mine at the moment, Raiders flying in the top 4 and could be a huge smoky for a top 4 berth by the end of the year if they keep going with this. Fogarty stays fit, and they got such a good forward pack, which I'm so keen to talk more about. Let's get into the first game of the round, and that was the Dolphins getting over the Penrith Panthers 30 points to 12 at Suncorp Stadium. Jake, talk to us about this game. What are your thoughts?
This game was an interesting one in the sense, I mean, again, I'm not going to harp on it. I'm not going to tell myself I'm not going to harp on it. Obviously, the Dolphins have not started the season in the best form, and the Panthers, well, same thing goes for them, but we all expect, I think every week we've all expected, hey, this week's the week the Panthers will just get back into it and they'll just click back on. And I'm starting to get to a point now where I'm going, will they click back on? When will this click back on happen? I want to get into something on the Panthers side before we kick this off, right? So I'm a big stats guy. Love looking at the stats and sort of making, seeing whether that fit the game or not. I'm going to tell you a stat, and you tell me whether this surprises you. There were 10 players on the Panthers side of things. There were 10 players who ran for over 100 meters, and there were an additional 2 players who ran for over 95 meters, making 12 of their 17 players they took there running for almost, if not more than 100 meters. So, that's surprising, right? Considering the scoreline was 30-12, okay? I think we can identify that an issue for the Panthers at the moment is in their red zone. Before, they could do this big meter eaterage, and then meter eaterage, that's a bit of a tongue twister to say that fast 3 times. But before, you could assume that the Panthers would get to the red zone, right? And when they're in that attacking area, you just tries. They came, right? You just expected it. Now it's a point where they're doing the work and they're getting up there. They were in the red zone a fair bit. I'm not going to look into the statistics for that one. I know that they were in the red zone a fair bit of that game, but once they got there, they just looked lost. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it to me, it looked like Nathan Cleary has lost his confidence in the players around him. I don't think he doubts his own abilities, because I think he shouldn't be doubting it after 4 premierships won by him. But it feels like he's not trusting in the players around him to receive like those riskier passes he might have been more comfortable throwing when he had those better players around him. I'm not really sure.
I know you're a huge stat man. Just to go in further of what you're saying, Penrith actually had the better possession and the better completion rate as well, which just makes this whole thing even crazier. Because if you said that about any Penrith team of the last 4 or 5 years, you say that they'd end up winning the game by about 20 at least. And they
Scoreline
just
would have been
didn't do it.
reversed.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It is getting to the point for mine where it is quite concerning, because I keep listening to things, I keep hearing and reading people's thoughts, and they're just like, yeah, no, the Penrith, they'll make the 8, and once they make the 8, they're a different team, they've got the experience, blah, blah, blah. One thing I want to say now is they had the experience. Like, I know Yo's there, Cleary's there, Martin's there. Like, there's a couple of key players still there, Toto when he's fit, but they have lost a hell of a lot of experience over the last couple of years that I keep thinking gets forgotten about. And I think we're seeing now what happens with that and the impact that it's having on the Panthers, because it's impacted their depth. It's impacted the next man up. They've always been big on the next man up mentality, keeping it simple. But what I've been seeing lately in the last couple of weeks is their attack hasn't been that simple. They're still trying to do a hell of a lot. And I'm just starting to question if the players they're bringing in, if it's too much, and if they do need to dumb it down in a way and play some more simplistic football to help their players adjust to whatever it is they're trying to achieve, which is obviously win some football games, because I feel like there's still a lot going on, a lot of shape, this and that, which is great for when they had their stars and that there and that their team of, let's just say, last year. But this team looks completely different, playing completely different. And even some of the players that were there last year, their confidence is shot. It's not quite where what they used to be. And we're seeing the impact of that from the Panthers. And I've said it last week, and I'm going to double down on it. I don't think they're going to make the 8 anymore. I've really turned off what I'm seeing from Penrith. Like, I don't know how people can be so confident saying, yeah, they'll make the 8. I think they're so far away from a top 8 football team at the moment, it's not funny.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me, with both teams actually, but we're sort of talking about Penrith right now, is the defensive lapses on the edges, especially for the Panthers. That was the biggest issue. That was some of the worst edge defense since last year's Parramatta Eels.
Piss poor.
Yeah, well, it was terrible. I still, and I am questioning him. I'm starting to get to a point where I'm starting to say, Ivan, why is Alamotti not in the centres? He's a premiership winning centre, and he's a big body who can make those one-on-one tackles. He's quick enough to make those, to make the dashes if someone tries to get on his outside. Why is he on the wing, man? Please explain this to me, because I would love some sort of understanding of why that's happening. It kills me. Another thing, Nathan Cleary took 23 runs on the weekend. What other halfback in the comp is taking 23 runs? There are none. I challenge you to find another halfback over this weekend that took 23 runs, and I bet you we won't, because I don't know what it is. I don't know whether he's trying too hard to take the game on by himself, or whether he's, like I said, not confident in his outside men, or what the go is. But 23 runs, normally I'd be singing your praises. 23 runs, he ran for, I think, 157 meters. That's huge. Way too much for a halfback to be running. Just, that's not your role. I don't know. Sounds crazy. I know that's a really dumb sort of sounding point, but it just doesn't make sense to me why he's not giving that ball off to other people to be doing the work for him and taking the time to then organize the attack around. That's what I'm confused on there.
That, for mine, was the thing that impressed me the most about Penrith, funnily enough, is the fact that their captain, their number 7, the best player in the world, didn't stop trying no matter what. It clearly wasn't going their way, but the fact that he didn't put the cue in the rack and just said, let's go, like we can achieve something here. And sort of, if I was a player there, I'd be saying, all right, awesome. He has some faith in me to do my job. These outside players and stuff are just continually letting him down. And I just think that's so poor. And you mentioned it, the edges, like, sorry to mention him, but I will. But Tungo, for instance, what is he? He needs to get like dropped. It's at the point where now he needs to be dropped because he's turned into a liability, not just in attack, but in defense. He's a turnstile. He cannot read a play to save his life. And we have not been able to say that for Penrith edges. They've been probably the best edge defensive unit for years upon years upon years. It's the points that they are leaking is criminal for a team that has been that and yet the level that they expect themselves of. I just want to know what Ivan will do next week, because surely you get to the point now. I know they're still down on personnel, but you've got to get to a point where you've got to pick one of these players, and for mine it'd probably be Tungo, and you go, I'm dropping him. I'm setting an example here, and let's hope this gives this team the kick up the arse that it needs, and then we can go from there, because otherwise I can't see it improving anytime soon. Like, you're right, Alamotti for mine should be playing center. There's no reason why I would like, especially when for mine their centers aren't playing that great. Like, even Jenkins got changed from center, and McLean, I know he's young, but he was playing internationally at the international level last year on the wing and was doing a great job at it, in my opinion. I don't know why the late change to have Jenkins go back out to wing and McLean into center. That didn't make sense to me at all either. So it just feels like there's a bit of overcomplication going on at the moment, which is not sitting right for a lot of these younger players coming in, and it's just completely derailing them. It's sort of like, in a way, they're self-imploding.
In another point, I'm gonna continue on what we're sort of saying. I'll push on here. Blaise Talungi, his not debut for the club, but his sort of first crack at that starting role. Yeah, first crack at that starting role next to Nathan Cleary, which is why he signed across to sort of go over there. It felt at times like he was lost. Now, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but a lot of people didn't like my take on this, but I never really thought, when we lost him from the Eels, I never really thought he was that incredible. And I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that take, because I know you're a big fan of his, or at least you thought he was a bit hard done by. But I never saw it. I saw that he had some agility and he had some speed. But I don't know if he's got it up there enough to run or to half run a football side, to help out with running a football side. I don't know whether he tried to take on too much at once, what the go was. He did do a lot of work. Like, he did a lot of running. He ran 18 times for 134 meters, which for a 5'8", I'm cheering. I understand the difference in the role of, I understand that sounds a bit ironic, but I don't know. I think he's a bit of a defensive liability as well at the moment. And he was at Parramatta, and I think he is here still, and he might need some more time to develop in the juniors.
I've been a massive Blaise Talungi fan, but even I will admit on the weekend he was really poor, and I felt for him a bit, because what I mean by I felt for him was, and I know he's doing great things, and he's a first grade footballer. Everyone will say, oh, he's making good money, blah, blah, blah. But he's in a team now who are the 4-time defending premiers, going to try and win 5 in a row, which is unheard of. apart from obviously the Dragons era, which we won't go into. But he's then he had a shoulder surgery. He's come back from that. Penrith, for mine, where Penrith went wrong here is he had a great game against the Melbourne Storm. He should have been picked the next week when his confidence was up and keep going with the way he was going. It didn't happen. And this is no disrespect for Jack Cole, but if you're going to try and put Slungy and Cleary as your future halves pairing, which by all reports was the thinking when they signed him, then played Slungy while his confidence is up and while he's there. Now it just feels like it's been completely shot. He had a horrible game on the weekend. There is no other choice for Ivan than to drop him and get his confidence back up in lower grades where they just had a huge win on the weekend as well. So hopefully he can start picking up things playing at 5'8". If Jack Cole's fit, I don't even know if I'd go Jack Cole at the moment. They need some experience there. I'd probably go Snyder, and I'd just have him playing with Cleary. He's a bit more experienced, been there and done that a bit more than the two kids. I wouldn't want too many kids at the moment in this lineup. I'd be going for more of those players who have been there, done it, and just start getting some wins on the board because that's what Penrith desperately, desperately need. And I just, in a way, yeah, I do feel for Blaze. He's big signing for him, a big junior. He's very young still, so he's got plenty of time to develop into a fantastic player. Plenty of time. Don't rush him. That's why I'd get him away from this situation for now and let Cleary and Snyder go about what they do.
Yeah, I'll almost finish it here. I'm going to sort of add one last thing is what changes I think I'd make. I'd actually would keep Tungo on, but I'd put him on the wing. I literally would just swap him and Alamotti. Okay, I would have Alamotti shifted to the centers. I'd try Tungo on the wing because he does have some tough carries when he runs. Like he's willing to put his body on the line. He just had some poor defensive reads. But if he has Alamotti on his inside, telling him when he's going to jam and taking control of that organization in defense, I think he'd be fine. I'd also potentially shift Blaze either over to the left wing and put McLean into the centers, or to the left center. He played there for Parramatta. I understand that's not why he signed there, but he did a really good job there when he was there for us. That's where he played probably his best football for us. And I think it would help him because he's still getting used to that defense side of things in first grade, that high level of physicality, which is good for him. And it might help him get his confidence up a little bit too. And, if he can get a try or if he can get a try assist over on the wing or the centers kind of thing, it might help.
Yeah. I just think Tungo needs to be dropped. From what I've seen, I just think he needs to cop a bit of a drop in my opinion. But I get what you're saying. I just think to show this playing group it's not acceptable anymore, we need to really sharpen up the edges. Like, in my opinion, it just feels wrong. We're saying how much his edge defense is shocking and to basically keep the same edge. I know it's positional-wise it changes, but it's the same personnel wise, and I just don't know if that sends the best message. And who knows when? I hope Toto's back very shortly because Toto would be the one I'd probably make way for, obviously, and just move Alamotti into the centres like what you are saying. Moving on, just for the Dolphins, obviously a huge win. To not taking anything away here from the Dolphins, they played incredible. And I feel like we're starting to see the Christian Wolf Dolphins. They obviously had a tough start to the year, travel-wise, the cyclone, things like that was happening, all that sort of thing, which is really hard to see. But in my opinion, it was sort of to come up against the defending premiers and make that sort of a statement. I know they're weak, I know that sort of thing, and that's fine. But it was a statement win. That's what it was. And Penrith still have that aura about them. So for the Dolphins who have been struggling to come away with that, Hammer's best game by a mile of the year, which is great to see. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins, Jake?
Oh yeah, it was an effort where they played for each other. I think, look, the biggest thing here, to be honest with you, I don't know that I necessarily think they were the better team on the day. I think they had the better edges on the day. I think that's the key that it all comes down to is honestly just how woeful Panthers' defense was. Just made the Dolphins look incredible. But you're right in saying that the Hammer did look great, and I think the biggest thing he did right was just playing that support player role. That's all he has to do. He's probably one of, if not the fastest player in the comp. All he has to do is play that second phase play role where he just follows behind, hopes for an offload. It's there all the time. Because once he gets it, we know that he can make magic happen. And he did that on the weekend. That's all he has to do.
Yeah. Katoa, honestly, he was up against the best player in the world, halfback Nathan Cleary, who tried his ass off, did not stop. Obviously, Katoa's got history at the Penrith Panthers. Probably knows a lot of their the way they play, even though he was younger. Inside out, he's obviously learnt the system coming up in the grades there. Probably would have had opposed sessions with Cleary a lot, things like that. I thought he didn't get overawed by it, which would have been easy for him to do, being the Master V apprentice in a way. But he just kept going, kept doing what he was good at, which is what I love. He didn't try and change his game. He just kept at it. Very, very mature. And we keep talking about how young he still is, but that was almost a coming of age performance, because I know he's been very good to start the year. I've really enjoyed it, but that could be with the moment where we look back at the end of the year and we go, that was the performance from Isaiah Katoa we've been waiting for. And we go, that was where he's now become an elite halfback in this competition.
Yeah, the word I would use to sum up your point there for him this weekend was composed. He didn't light the world on fire, and I don't think he needed to. I really don't. I think he needed to get quality ball out to his edges, and he saw that was working, and he just fed it all day. He just kept feeding the same people who it was working. Why stop? And it worked out really well. I'll shift over to their forwards. Their forwards laid a relatively good platform. If you're looking at actual total meters, not as much as the Panthers, but they still laid enough of a platform to work off of in the crucial moments when it was more important that they needed to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Again, great win by the Dolphins. Obviously, there was way more talking points, I guess, from a Panthers point of view for this game, but not taking anything away at all. Really, really impressive, and I think it's a really good, big building block for the Dolphins, because I know they've been split. I guess a number of people out there think they're a top 8 team. Some think they're a cellar dweller sort of team, but this could be that win for them that really starts elevating them to go on a run. They've got a really good side on paper. They've got workers that they just worked their arse off. I was impressed with their edge. I thought both edges were really good. Their centers, especially Farnworth and even Avarilla, it's just that underrated player, in my opinion, that he just goes about it. He's got a star-studded backs in there. He's got the Hammer, he's got Masako, Farnworth, and he never really gets a mention, but I feel like he just goes about his work every week. Might come up with like a mistake here and there that seems to stick out, but it's all the rest of the work that he does, which for mine really stands out. And I know Farnworth and that will get all the shout-outs, and deservedly so. Just wanted to give a little one to Jake Averillo as well.
Yeah. When he played for the Bulldogs, I always thought that in those games, he played for them when they were bad, for want of better words. But when he was there, it always felt like he'd come off games going, wow, if only they got him more quality ball, he'd look better. And I think they finally have agreed he's a center. He's not going to be playing in the halves, which, for some reason teams like to, and it happened to the Bulldogs too. They wanted to trial him in there. He's not a halfback or a 5'8". He is a center, and he's a good center. Leave him there.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Moving on to the next game, it was the Dragons 38 defeating the Gold Coast Titans 16. I think this, in a weird way, that the scoreline flatters the Titans slightly. They had a last-minute sort of rush, but or not really. They had a 61-minute try and a 78-minute try, but the Dragons sort of put the cue in the rack because they were on fire for this game. It was going back and forth. It seemed like at the start, it was one of those games where both teams knew that this was a vital 2 points for them, and they didn't want to be the team that came away with the loss. So it was back and forth, a try piece after about 15, 16 minutes. And then about 5 minutes from halftime, the Dragons just basically went bang, bang. It started about 10 minutes out, but that too quick try to sort of put everything away for the Dragons. There was no coming back from the Titans, which, again, it's another disappointing showing from them. And from a Titans point of view, before we rave about the Dragons, so disappointing. Like, they were nowhere near. And again, it's just that travel. They get there. You just get this feeling that they're going to not turn up. They don't turn up. And you just think, here we go again, talking about a Titans outfit that on paper, like their forward pack on paper, overshadowed the Dragons by a mile. I know they were missing Tina, but still, and to just, it felt like get bashed. I don't know where it is at the Titans, but it's not first grade standard in a way by a lot of those players who just decide to turn up once every 3 or 4 weeks. Like, you're in the NRL, your job is to be ready for that 80 minutes each and every week. There is no excuse to not be yet. It just feels like a lot of them have this excuse to not turn up and put the effort in like they should be.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the Titans were horrible. And you said we were going to rave about the Dragons, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I think both teams were horrible. The Titans were worse. I don't know if you like that take, and I don't really care too much. The Titans' defense was abysmal, and we saw in the trial. I know we're a bit well past the trial now. We've sort of been seeing in games. They have these rocks and diamonds defensive games. Way more rocks than diamonds. This game was coal. This game was like dirt, not even a rock. If you look at some of
hard watch
at
the start.
it was a hard watch. I'm going to jump into some stats, and I'm going to throw them. This is for both teams at the moment. There were 12 errors for the Dragons. There were 13 errors for the Titans. That in and of itself, as a stat to just throw out there, that's terrible for a first grade football side on either side. That's so bad. Who do you think? I'm just going to ask you a question here. Who do you think had the better completion rate?
Probably somehow the Titans.
I think you're asking me that because I think you're going to answer that because it seemed like I was leading you somewhere, and I was. The Titans had a better completion rate than the Dragons. Can you believe that? And look at the scoreline. You look at the scoreline, 38-16, and the completion rates are almost identical, both at 75% or less, which is just like no top 8 team is looking at that and going, "Oh, sweet, I'm happy with that." At all. Yeah. No one. There's not a single team that's looking at that going, "Sweet, I'm happy."
I think a big problem for the Titans, just to quickly go into that, because I think it's a valid point that you're going on about. I feel like I want to I'm trying to find the right way to come about this because they've been good, but it's not what they need at the moment. It's the halves. Brimson and Jaden Campbell, who I both think actually had pretty decent games in the thick of things when you look at their numbers and things like that. It's sometimes where I feel like stats can be a bit deceiving because it suggests that both of these players had good games. Yes, in a way they did, but they're sitting here now at the moment with facing a 38-16 defeat at the hands of a Dragons outfit, which, not being disrespectful to them at all for Dragons fans, but they're not one of the elite teams in the competition. And like you just showed, they didn't have a great game either. Like they've had 2 weeks in a row now where I feel like, like the Eels game, for instance, they probably should look back on that and go, we should have won that. They didn't shut the game out at all. And again, here they shut the game out. But for the Titans' point of view, like they need a game managing half. They just don't have it. I know Jaden Campbell's learning and he's getting better with it, but he's not it. And I feel like it takes away from his best part of his game, which is running. Not fullback, 5'8" for mine is his go. And De Groot for mine hasn't set the world on fire. I know he's young, but for mine, I just don't think he's ready and not what the Titans need at this point in time. Brimson for mine would be going straight back to fullback. Jaden Campbell into 5'8", and I know Foran's not ready yet, but there's got to be someone out there in the Titans who they've got there. I have to have a quick look, but they can play at half because for mine it has to work. And I don't know. I don't know that. Let us know who you think, because I don't think Carter Gordon's back either. He wouldn't be the answer either. Just see another one of his players, but they just don't have any game management at the moment. That's the problem, and they're not going to fix that while Foran's out. So they need to come up and find a way to fix it. Because I think Weaver's still available. Weaver's there. Why not give him a go at 7? Give him a go.
You you absolutely stole the point I was leading to, but no, I fully agree.
Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It doesn't matter. But I had this point. I was like building up all the stats. I was getting there. No, it's fine. I was actually going to argue it on both sides of the ball, Dragons and Titans, but I'm going to go Titans first because that's where we're at. You're right. You're absolutely right. Jaden Campbell, tell me he does not look like a perfect 5'8". He's everything you want in a 5'8". He's exactly right. He's electric, right? He's a perfect second receiver. He's not a game-managing half. Yes, they need a game-managing half. Out of the two, I'd pick Brimson. Either out of the two that are playing there right now, I'd have Brimson there in the first place. But yeah, they need to do something. They have to have someone coming up in some sort of reserve grade or something that they can play in that halfback position that can manage the game better. Because with Jaden Campbell focusing on trying to manage the game, and it happens a lot of the time, happens with Dylan Brown, to throw something there. These ball running players lose their ability to ball run when they focus on managing the game. And that seems to be what's happening with Jaden. And they need someone to get them back on track when they're not on track, which is what happened in the game. Don't get me wrong, they lose that game. I don't care who their halfback is. Their defense was woeful. It doesn't matter who your halfback is. They weren't going to win that game. Yeah, that is what it is. I want to jump across to the other side.
Just one more point before you do. I just want to give a shout out because he's been criticised a lot, and when he plays a good game, he deserves a rap. Dave Fafita, who I thought was a monster. Probably his best game, in no joke, honestly, a season and a bit. I feel like it was that good of a game. And that, again, just goes the halves had someone who they could use there to get on a run, and they just didn't, which,
but that's what he should be doing. He should be
consistently. He's an origin player.
Exactly right. And what I don't understand is when they do have Tino doing the same thing in the middle, that's when he chooses to like sit back. But it seems to be like this. Maybe it's this like star player, like so he can kind of come out of a game going, but I did better than everyone else, so I can't really be blamed for this. But instead, they could be winning games if Tino and him were both on the field and he was actually doing that. Because, 100%, I agree. He ran for over 200 meters. Second rowers don't often do that. That's an incredible stat.
Dragons.
That's what I've got. Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I've got to say about the Titans there.
Dragons time. Talk to us.
Well, look, like I said to you, their display, they were bad. The Titans were worse. Okay? Now, you're not going to look at that, but when you look at the tries, you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tries to 3. You're not sitting there going, oh, Dragons played terrible. But they did. They did. The Titans just had woeful defense. I'll say this. Christian Tuipulotu this season, what a monster. What an absolute monster he's been. Yeah? Just an absolute freak.
Try celebrations back.
The celebration's back. That's true. It's been unbanned. He's allowed to do that. It's back.
As long as they're winning.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, as long as they're, and that's fair, honestly. As long as they're not down by like 28 points and he's throwing out these big try sellies.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think that the Dragons won this on effort. A lot of their players ran for 95 meters or more. I think it was, I'm not going to count it, but it looks like about 10 at least, which is always a good sign. When you have about 10 at least running for those big numbers, you should be seeing a lot of points scored and a lot of effort put in.
Yeah.
I thought that their halves didn't really have to do much, and I think that again we're seeing Clint Gutherson being such a crucial signing to these guys. Everyone gave them so much crap about the signing, or a lot of people did. A lot of people went, Gutho coming across, he's old, he's not going to do anything for you. The guy just knows where to be at all times, and he didn't even have his best game, not even close, not even by a long shot. I just thought it was quiet, but I still feel like he's when he's quiet, and he was for us. When he's quiet, he's that not underperforming, underrated, like under the radar style player who will just do same as Dylan Edwards. I talk about him all the time. Same thing. That building a platform off your fullback, being able to do those meters and those hard carries for you is huge. And that's something that I think that started them off their sets well, which just led them into sort of steamrolling a little bit.
I feel like for what has happened this weekend with the way the Dragons have played, now, shout out to my Supercoach team because I didn't enjoy the fact that Flanagan has now taught them how to attack without using Gutho all the time. I actually use him as a decoy. Did not appreciate that because he was a late trade-in for mine. And I stuck the C on him after saying all week I was going Pappy, which I absolutely regret and need to always stick with my guns. I'm sick of saying it because I just do it every freaking time. But, yeah, shout out to you, Shane. Thanks heaps for that. But it makes the Dragons now moving forward a lot more dangerous because they've just shown they can do things away from Gutho. So the Titans kept going in to hit Gutho and things like that and put pressure on him. Then there was a little inside ball or they went to that little pop pass instead of going at the back to Gutho. So it makes them a hell of a lot more dangerous, which I absolutely love now. Nightmare again for super coaches because we don't know what's going to happen. And I actually thought it was Kyle Flanagan's best game all season. I thought he actually stood up. I know, Green, and what you're saying is probably valid. Their halves, comparing them to other halves in the comp, weren't fantastic, but I just thought they haven't needed, like, they stick to what they can achieve in a way, so they're not trying to overplay their hand. And I think Flanagan did a fantastic job on the weekend, which really did impress me. And it also shout out to Dylan Egan, who got the start, was playing on the edge. Absolutely monster of a game. His stats were immense, absolutely immense. And just sort of, again, I went back to the original point of this part of the podcast where I said the Titans forward pack is massively over the Dragons in a way when you look at it on paper. Players like Dylan Egan just going about their work no matter what for the Dragons is what kept them and ended up getting them over the line in this game. And just they kept marching up the field, which I don't remember the last time I've seen Dragons forward pack, for instance, march up a field. It's great to see these young guys coming in doing a job.
Yeah. Not to take this back to the Titans, but I'm just going to touch on it for a second. A massive issue just for the eye test that I sort of saw using the Dragons forwards like you're talking about, line speed. It felt like they were sitting back and really letting the Dragons come to them. And I think that's a big reason why we talked about the statistics being sort of somewhat, they can be a little bit deceiving at times. And I think that's a big one there is the Titans weren't sort of moving up to meet them in defense and to try and shut down a few of those meters. They were just going, hey, we'll just sit back, let you come to us. And so it felt like you said the Dragons were rolling through the entire game because they were. They weren't meeting them and brick walling. They were just continuing along.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Happy to move on?
Yep, I think so.
Next up, the Brisbane Broncos against the Roosters, 26 points to 16. The Roosters got the Chocolates to turn around the round one pumping. Straight away, from a Roosters point of view, Billy Smith, it is so good to see you back. Couple of games in a row now. Obviously, the suspension now for next week is a shame. Probably might be a good thing for his body just to keep him give him a little refresher after a couple of big weeks. He is, honestly, I just wanted to let everyone know this now, and so they're not shocked by this statement because it sounds outrageous. If he can continue to play for the rest of the year and be pretty consistent and play majority of games, I've got no doubt in my mind many will be talking about him as a top 5 center in the game. I think he's that good, and he keeps showing us bits of his brilliance, which is the real, that is the sole reason the Roosters have kept him for as long as they have, because they haven't, most clubs, every right mind, after what he's had, gets to a point where they go, we just can't. We need to get a junior coming up, or we need to just sign someone who can play this position. Because there's been times where it's hurt him having Billy Smith there and not playing when they've probably needed him with outside back issues. This is why they keep doing it, because he's an absolute gun. And we saw it again on the weekend, just how good he is.
Yeah. It's funny because all season we've been talking about, he's not going to be able to force his way into this side with the centers going the way they are. And that's been fair with Mark Nawinga-Wangatase. And I just wanted to flex that I just hit that first go. And Robert Toya, they're smashing it in the centers. So it kind of worked out well for Billy that he got the opportunity based off of an injury. And, we always talk about you can't let a player out of the team if they're smashing it. I understand he just got that suspension, but the 2 games I think he's been back. It just felt like he's just absolutely carved in both of those games. So now the question becomes, when he comes back, what do the Roosters do? I think Billy's going to have to force his way on.
100%. He'll be playing centre, in my opinion. And I didn't want to go straight to a negative, but I will, because they had a great win. I'd be dropping Dom Young, who I think again let himself down a number of times in a team that won, had plenty of chances. I just don't think he's quite there at the moment. I don't know what. To be honest, when I thought about this after the game, and I was thinking back, I don't think he's reached the heights that he was playing at when he was at the Knights. If I'm going to be brutal, since he's got to the Roosters, I think there's been a couple of games where attack-wise he's made some great breaks and run down the field, scored a try, but consistently and working as a winger, I don't think he's actually reached the Knights' heights. So maybe he just doesn't fit in there. Maybe he's not. I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't seem to quite be that player that I remember streaking down the wing for the Newcastle Knights, which is crazy to say because he's at a star-studded team at the moment, or was a star-studded team, has lost a number of players, but he's just not doing it. And if I had to make a change, I'd be bringing Marky Mark onto the wing for him, and I'd be bringing Billy Smith back into the centres, obviously not next week, but the week after.
Oh, I can tell you what it is. He doesn't have the world's best centre/fullback playing inside him in Joey Manu. That's it. That's the big difference. Joey Manu got the ball to him with flick passes, with with he could probably drop the ball onto his knee and knee it over the side to people. Like it was a freak. He'd get the ball over to him somehow. He'd always find a way into the slimmest of edges, and he was finding Dom Young, and Dom Young then had the talent to then work off that. And don't get me wrong, Toya has been incredible to start the season, but I don't think for a second he's Joey Manu. He's not, because who is, right? And so then the big issue, I suppose, is what can Dom Young create on his own? The best wingers can create with almost nothing on their own. I don't think he can do that. While he is physically gifted, he needs somebody to be that provider for him, and he doesn't have that since Joey's born. That's my biggest thing with Dom Young. As for Marky Mark coming on, I think it's worth a crack. He runs, in my opinion, significantly harder. He's a bit built. He's a bit more built than Dom, so you could probably get some more of those sort of yardage carries coming out off a kick. It couldn't be the worst plan to try, but I think at the same time, while the Roosters are, or at least won the week before, I'm a big fan of you don't change the team that won the week before if you can avoid it. Unless there's someone who very clearly almost sabotaged that. And I wouldn't say that Dom Young went that far as to say that he sabotaged the game kind of thing. So I say keep going until he really proves he needs to be dropped.
Yeah. Fair enough. Also, just remember they haven't been great all year. Like they've had a game here and there where they've had a win. I just think there is some room for improvement. And while there is that, and you've got someone like Marky Mark who's proved so far he can do a great job, I think he'll make an absolutely amazing winger. I think he'll eat the yardage up, eat the work up, plus be a great finisher, in my opinion. Final shout out for the Roosters. I want to give to Hugo Savala and his kicking game. I thought he made a world of difference for the Sydney Roosters, who have been missing this all year. Chad Townsend just hasn't had it. Sandon Smith doesn't have the best kicking game either, but his running game for mine is far outweighs that, and that's fine. Hugo Savala was absolutely sensational. That kicking game and matched with the kick chase together from the Roosters, absolutely great. It was like the Roosters all of a sudden had faith in their number 7, and they forwards went, you know what, we're going to repay this style of play that you're doing and the kicking game that you're doing, and we're going to make sure our kick chase is on point. And it was all night. Like, it was really, really great to see. And he basically didn't put a foot wrong, Savala. I thought he was right up there as player of the match.
Oh, absolutely. If you're talking about kicking game meters, which is what you were talking about then, he kicked 12 times for 478 meters, right? Which is massive. If you look at Nathan Cleary, how many he took 19 kicks. How many meters do you reckon he kicked?
450.
371. Wow. Now I know that includes your grubbers and things like that, and he does love those little kicks and things along those lines. But he also had to do some meterage kicking. Hugo Savala outkicked him for distance. He outkicked him.
Massive.
Oh, mate, and
that's an asset.
We've talked about this a lot. Is the best teams, the reason why they can play the way they do is because no matter whether they're in danger or not, they know that they can get out just by booting the ball away. Literally, just get rid of the ball. Let's just get back up there, and we'll try and kick chase. Let's try and defend it. Let's go from there. Having somebody in there that can do that is massive for a team. Especially Roosters are still quality. Like, I understand that they haven't been playing to their best recently, but they still have quality within their team and within their ranks.
Yeah.
And I don't think Chad Townsend will come back onto this side for a while, barring injury. And I know that's just one game.
Yeah, no, Chad won't be back. The next change they make in the halves will be when Sam Walker's fit, which I believe still 6 to 8 weeks away at least. So
big time.
So that you would not be rushing him back after an ACL. Shout out to the Roosters, great win, fantastic. For the Broncos, to be honest, I actually don't have much to say because I'm a bit disappointed in this performance. I felt like almost from the kickoff, and excluding their front rowers, who again I felt like were both easily their players of the match and continued to work their ass off. For the rest of it, I just thought they were very disappointing. For mine, it was very clear Reynolds wasn't quite himself, which again, I just say, why did they play him? It just didn't make sense. And I think him not being 100% impacted this team a lot. It impacted their backline moves, getting involved, their shape, because he just wasn't quite doing what we're used to him doing. Rest him for the week, have someone come in and play that at 100%, that halfback role. You didn't even need that. Just have Ben Hunt promote him to 7, Billy Walters can play 6, things like that. It was an easy fix. It just felt like it really did impact the team. Again, I think Haas and Carrigan were working their nutter off and couldn't do too much more, but it just felt like they were like the Broncos as a whole was off. And Walsh, I know he had a try at the start. It looked like early signs looked like he was going to be on for a massive game, but he just wasn't quite after that. His 80-minute performance wasn't quite where, again, it just feels like it needs to be. And he hasn't been himself so far this year, Jay. It just hasn't been the Reece Walsh that I think many have expected. And very, very controversial. I think Reece Walsh is a very entertaining player. Don't get me wrong here. And I don't want to come out and cop it. I probably will, no doubt. I just don't rate him anywhere near as highly. I don't rate him anywhere near as highly as some do. I think he is below the elite level of fullbacks in the game. And he gets, consistency wise, just isn't anywhere near those top 3 or 4 fullbacks in our game.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say he's in. I don't think I could even go near saying he's in the top 5. I don't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing somebody saying a big reason he might be out of form this year is because he's very used to playing with Ezra Mam. I don't know that I don't think that's an excuse at all, to be honest with you. It's not. Like, when you've got a forward pack of the quality that the Broncos do, and you've got halves of the quality that the Broncos have, you shouldn't have any trouble being a fullback, mate. Be the second number. Just be the person ready there to be the support player. That's it. You've just got to be a support player. I noticed a few times when they would do big shifts, it seemed like Ben Hunt wanted to try to make that pass, but Reece Walsh just felt like he was running weird lines, just not quite right. So he was running in spaces where he was just going to run out of room and nothing was going to happen out of it, so Ben Hunt wouldn't pass the ball to him. And I think he's going to have to work out where he fits in with everybody else. Don't get me wrong. And I still think he'll click at some point in the season. But until he does, that takes them out of, in my opinion, premiership contention. Until Reece Walsh clicks with the team they've got, they're not going to win they wouldn't get near winning a comp right now.
Yeah. And just furthermore on your point, I actually think Ben Hunt has been pretty poor the last couple of weeks. Like, especially on the weekend, I just think probably his worst performance since being back in that Broncos jersey, unfortunately. And I know he was trying to make things work and it didn't quite click. I get that. But I just think he'd be looking at that going, that wasn't my best.
Yeah, and he has those games in him. We saw it at the Dragons. He's got games in him where he's not going to be at his best. But if you're operating at a 90-10, 90% good games to 10% bad games, I think no one can be too mad at that, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, nah, you're absolutely spot on. Let's go to Perth. First of the games of the doubleheader, I've seen the Sharkies overcome the Manly Seagulls. To be honest, I've two very desperate football teams who I felt like knew they had a lot riding on this game, because I don't want to be disrespectful at all to either team, but I thought this was a bit of a ball fest for a lot of this game. Last 20 got quite exciting when both teams decided, oh, hang on, we actually want to win this game. But it felt like just the first 60-odd, it was two teams trying not to lose the game, and it was just not much football involved, which from someone as a neutral fan watching the game didn't really appeal to me. I would not put this down as one of those games where I'd show anyone who I wanted to advertise the game for, not by any means. Just a bit of a down affair. I felt like the heat over there as well, maybe the travel impacted both playing groups as well. They didn't seem themselves. They seemed quite tired. So it just wasn't the elite level sort of game I anticipated from two teams who I think start of the year everyone had as probably top 4 teams or at least top 5 teams. Just didn't really get to that level. Now, and I know Manly, for instance, have no Turbo. That's a big impact. The DCE news might be impacted them a lot more than or at least fans anticipated. I just think it just didn't live up to it.
I agree. It was one of my most anticipated games, and I thought, being the two exciting teams that they are, I was sitting there before the game going, yeah, sweet, this will be a fun one to watch. And I think I remember finding myself about the 30th minute sitting here like this, looking up every now and then. Oh, if I'm being completely honest, it was a bit of a snooze fest at the start. But then you're right, towards the end of the game, it did get a little bit more interesting when it sort of felt like, yeah, everyone kind of went, hey, we might want to actually win this. Let's give it a crack. If I'm going to point out two players who I didn't feel that for, I thought Will Kennedy was fantastic. He's copped a lot of criticism this year. So many people saying he needs to go, he needs to be dropped, and I thought he really put in a performance, just a bit of a statement performance. Just I want to be here. Like I am the fullback of this team, and this is why they've got me here. And me personally, I think Will Kennedy's really good. I think he's a really good player. He hasn't been in the best form, yeah, but at the same time, I wouldn't be dropping him. Not at all, and especially not after the last game. He put in an absolutely cracker performance last game. The other player that I wanted to give a shout out to is also a fullback, Lehi Hopawate. I think he's doing a really good job filling in from Turbo. It's massive shoes to fill, but he's putting his body on the line, taking up hard carries. Like, he's not a very big guy, but he's taking up the hard, doing a lot of hard work for a guy his size.
Just on the Sharks halves, obviously, again, it was very clear for mine that Trindle was playing the halfback and the man running this side. Is it becoming an issue, do you think? It feels like we talk about it almost every week at the moment, but is it about time he just gets the 7 jersey and we just put this to bed and stop playing silly buggers?
100%. Look, you got Braden Trindle in the 6. You got Nicho Hynes in the 7. But like I said to you with Cleary and Blaze earlier, you should never have your halfback taking more runs than your 5'8". I just don't believe that's how a team should be run. And Nicho Hynes took 14 runs for 103 meters. Braden Trindle took 6 runs for 28. That shouldn't be what your 5'8" is doing. It's okay if it's a halfback, and that's the way that they're playing because they're managing. Sweet. I understand that the jersey is just a number, and I know a lot of people will make that argument that the jersey is just a number. But you know what? To be honest with you, I think it really clears things up. If you have the person playing the role with the number that they're supposed to be playing, it clears life up. And I think we need to move on. 100%. I think they're so worried about Nicho Hynes. He gets paid more. Who cares? Who cares? If he can still be getting try assists. If he can still have crazy games playing 5'8". You can be a higher paid player as a 5'8" than a halfback if you're doing the job well enough.
Yeah,
do the job better.
Spot on. With Manly, I don't want to talk too much about this because I just don't think we're going to be talking about them. They weren't near their best. It wasn't a great quality game, so I just don't feel like there's that much to talk about. But just on Manly, just one question that will be raised for the rest of the season, no doubt. Do you think this DCE drama, what's happened, do you think it's impacting? I'm not going to say him because I think he's been working his ass off still and trying hard and was one of the better players on the park for Manly, in my opinion. But do you think it's starting to affect the players around him? Like, I keep going back to the fact that when it all broke, it was well known and publicised that he didn't tell all of the playing group. So I don't know. It feels like, do you feel like there is any impact there at the moment? Do you think it might be too early? What are your thoughts?
I still think it's too early to tell. Look, there may be 1 or 2 people affected, possibly. I'm not sure. Maybe the whole team's affected. But you know what? At the end of the day, they're freaking professionals. Like, they get paid so much money to run around with a ball on a field. Okay? If they're that upset by one of their players in their team leaving for a ridiculous amount of money, grow up. To be honest with you, I don't think that there is an issue. I don't, but grow up if there is. Like, you're a football side. Go out and win football games. That's what you get paid for. That's it. Yeah. Simple as.
Yeah, spot on. Second game of the doubleheader over in Perth. A great stadium, by the way. Like, that was great to see the spectacle and the atmosphere and that was happening there. Obviously, a lot of talk at the moment in regards to this next part of the game being on or off. It seems like it's on at the moment, so Perth could very well be announced within the next week or so, I am hearing, but who knows? Every day it sort of changes. But the Cowboys got the victory over the South Sydney Rabbitohs, 24 points to 16. Again, I don't know if it was a victim of Perth. I don't know if it was the weather. It sapped the players. We heard a couple of them say afterwards it was quite hard. It felt like both sort of games that were in Perth were in slow motion in a way. It was just like there was something missing. Again, I don't know what it is. And this could be a huge advantage once this Perth team gets announced, if it does. Like going over there, the travel, playing in when it's like this hot conditions, hard conditions, could be a huge advantage for whoever it is that it ends up being based out there. But good work for the Cowboys. They are slowly putting everything together. Not a full 80 performance, but they're just thereabouts getting some wins now, which is what they need to do. I want to shout out to him because he's an absolute freak, even though he's killed me in Supercoach because I sold him the week he started to just kill it. Jackson Purdue, you are an absolute gun. You're a freak. You are just turning into this star center that is only just starting out in his NRL career, but already you need to start standing up, taking note of this guy because, wowee.
Oh, mate, yeah, absolutely. If you talk about Supercoach, you're gonna laugh at me here just real quick. So Purdue, I got him right at the start, like everyone else did, and obviously he suffered a little bit in those first 3 rounds. And I don't remember who I sold him for. I sold him for someone. I sold him real early on. I didn't sell him for Tamale. I sold him real early on, and then as soon as I did, he started breaking out over these last few rounds. And it's past the point where it's worth buying now. So I've just lost like 300, 400K on him, and I'm just so sad. But anyway, that is what it is. So we're not here to talk about Supercoach. No, the guy, he's playing awesome. And you know what? It could be that first year kind of, he gets a bit of confidence in him and he's just ready to kind of take the world on. And if that is it, awesome. You keep doing what you're doing. You're smashing it. So keep that going.
Another one I want to speak about, and we can start to talk about Origin because it is quickly approaching. So this guy is definitely in the frame. Played last year. I felt like had a very slow start to the year and got overtaken in his position. But I think Reece Robson the last couple of weeks, especially on the weekend, was absolutely sensational. He was easily the game of the year for him. Really stepped up and just reminded everyone that he is the incumbent for that jersey. In my opinion, continues to play that, he'll have that jersey as well because, again, that was a brilliant performance and really stood up.
100%. Yeah, look, he's definitely warming into, if not, he has already warmed into the season. And some players are like that, to be honest with you. It can take some players 4, maybe 5 games before they're really firing, and then you can see a form sort of purple patch from there. And it's happened a lot of times. Like you think about James Tedesco over the last like 4 or 5 years, he's always been known as a slow starter, and then he kicks off into games, middle of the season kind of thing. Reece Robson, he just has to keep. If he wants to play Origin, he's just got to keep doing exactly what he's doing, not overplay his hand, play his role, make his tackles. Yeah, basically, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. I'm going to quickly, before we move on, I'm going to quickly shout out somebody who has. It's been a long time coming since he's put a performance out like this. Jason Taumalolo. Massive performance by Jason Taumalolo. 17 runs for 205 meters. Not often, again, that a proper forward is running over 200 meters. Typically, you're looking at like your Payne Haas's or your Terrell Mays and things like that. But Jason Taumalolo is on his massive contract because he used to be this massive wrecking ball, and we all know how good he was. Well, I hope he can keep putting on performances like this. Obviously, it's not likely that he's going to be able to do this weekend. Mate, Taumalolo train, Supercoach, get him on, get on it. But no, it's good to see because I really like Taumalolo. I think he seems like a really good player. A good person, but like we all know how good of a player he is. I hope he gets back to it.
Yep, no, great shout out. Really deserve. I actually think he's been quite good for a couple of weeks now. He's just been flying on the radar, but he's been getting through some work, and it's obviously not vintage Taumalolo, but he's changing up his style, and he's been effective, which is what is the key word there for him. To play less minutes, that's fine, but make sure those minutes is effective, and he's been doing that brilliantly. I feel like for a lot of this year. For the Bunnies, it just seemed like there was a game coming up where they've been up for so long, they've been working so hard for so many weeks now. They weren't quite there, but to only lose by a small margin, 8 points, I think is a credit. That's a very much a Wayne Bennett coach team. They were there was a huge turning point for this game. Obviously, they were starting to come home strong, in my opinion. I actually feel like they were warming up to really put the foot down and probably win the game. The Jack Whiten tackle that he got pinned for the try-saving tackle on Scott Drinkwater, where he just was pinned for sliding down, getting the ankles, which I don't know how they've come up with this, but that is a ludicrous penalty, like an absolutely ludicrous penalty in a time that was crucial for the game. How the bunker can get involved there, and it was the bunker that did it, and make that call, blow it up. Absolutely blow the bunker up here, because that was absolute bullshit. Sorry to swear, guys, but it needs to be said, because that was a huge turning point. And obviously from there, the Cowboys scored again. And I don't follow either team, so I don't care who won the game. I just care about these decisions that just become crucial for the game and turning points, absolute turning points, where blind Freddie can see what else was Jack Whiten supposed to do there. He didn't do it on purpose. It was a natural tackle. It was a brilliant tackle. It was a try-saving tackle. And instead of being rewarded for that, he gets penalized. His team gets penalized. Cowboys go and score that set. Absolutely stupid call. Whoever was in the bunker should be dropped, because that's ridiculous. And it keeps going back to the point where the bunker is overcomplicating this game and making it extremely hard for the neutral people to watch and to not go, put your hand up and go, it's almost too hard. It's almost getting to the point where it's too hard to watch, because that in no spirit of the game is a penalty. I don't know how someone who has all these qualifications and supposed to be, and let's face facts, bunker is one of the highest probably positions in the game at the moment. They're in charge of so much. How that can get so wrong. Stupid.
Well, both not referees, both coaches came out, and both of them on either side said that is not a hip drop tackle. There is nothing wrong with that, and I love that. I know that the referees
credit to Peyton for that as well.
Yeah, no, that is credit to him, 100%. Because you know what, I know that the NRL has come out. I don't know if it's the NRL or whoever it be that's come out and just basically said, don't talk about the referees anymore. That's bullcrap. You should be. It's commentary on the game. Like I'm going to shift across. I agree with every point that you just said. You are absolutely right on everything that you just said on that hip drop tackle. I'm just going to do a quick shift, and I know this is probably better for a Tuesday. I'm going to quickly shift.
I just got warmed up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you revved me up a little bit here. I can't believe that the NRL is stopping, or trying to stop at least, and issuing fines to coaches who discuss the refereeing of a game. What a joke. What a dead set joke. You're literally discussing how you won or lost the game. And if you get asked about you should be able to talk about the refereeing, because it's an important part of the game. Because whether or not they like it, they get calls wrong. Calls get made that are wrong all the time, and they affect games. And coaches should be able to come out and say, no, that was incorrect. And maybe the whole fan base or player base or whatever might not disagree or might not agree with that coach, but the coach should have the right to say it. Yeah. Like, you're literally taking away freedom of speech at some point. I'm not going to get too in depth, but it's actually a bit of an embarrassment there. And I know I'm smiling, but I'm like really revved up about this right now, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you're spot on. I agree with what you're saying, because I've got to the point now where I just don't even watch the press conferences, because it's the same shit every single time. Like they've just feel like they've got the same things. A muzzle on them now, and there's no point asking him any in-depth questions that us as a fan want to hear. Like, this is what I think the game keeps forgetting when they do this sort of make this move. You're not affecting, I guess, the coach or the club. You're affecting the viewers. You're affecting the fans. And that's something that in this day and age where other sports are doing behind the scenes documentaries like Drive to Survive for F1, for the golf. I'm sure the NFL does stuff. I'm just not an American sport fan, guys, but I'm sure there's a few out there. I've heard they're very good with this sort of stuff. But in a time where it seems like so many codes, sporting codes, are going above and beyond and really giving fans so much access, the NRL still seem to be operating like a chook raffle, like it's secretive in a way, and muzzling those who we want to hear. Like, as much as they probably fear him because he'll just speak his mind and the truth, I'd love nothing more than when the Raiders lose or something, watching a Ricky Stewart press conference. It is primetime viewing, and I bet you if you got to see the views, they would be the top 10 press conferences of all time would involve Ricky Stewart. Now, He
100%.
doesn't say a word because he knows what's going to happen. And it's stupid. It's why would you limit what us as fans get to see? And it's a promotion for your game because guess what? The more clicks is promotion for the NRL. They see the NRL logo. They see the club's sponsors not everywhere. It is promotion, whether you like it or not. It is just absolute stupidity to now have coaches be forced to go to press conferences and they can't talk about half of the things they're going to get spoken about. Just cut it. May as well just cut it because there's no point anymore in doing it.
Yep, fully agree. Let's just scrap press conferences because it's the same. Oh, the effort was there. The boys tried their best. Can't say anything about the defense was bad. Oh, you lost by 2 points because of a penalty. Oh, not allowed to talk about it. Sorry. Let's just move on, please. I don't want to get fined. Nah, bullcrap. But we'll move. I think we should get back into the game. I'll quickly jump into one person I thought was phenomenal, considering it's a position he doesn't play. Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
Latrell Mitchell, hats off to Latrell. Because we know he's a fullback, he's a center. Everyone's like, oh, let's get him in the centers. And he just came in and had to do a role today, and he did it perfectly. I think he did an awesome job at 5'8".
Oh, I do as well. And I've actually doubled down here, and I'll say the combination of him and Gray has just both weeks so far, I think, been really good. And that shows to me a very mature side for Latrell Mitchell because it would be easy for him to kick up stones and say I know Wayne wouldn't do anything and he'll just tell him to basically get in his box, but it's easy for him, and we've seen in the past with other fullbacks and stuff, if someone or this kid's taking his jersey, an old Latrell, I feel like, would not take that well. But it's a combination of, I think, Wayne, his influence on Latrell and the way Latrell's thinking now. He seems like a more mature player. And I know he's only had 2 games so far, but I don't think I've really seen this Latrell before, and that really excites me. And even that try that they set up, him and Gray, and they went back and forth to each other. Straight away, Gray looked back, pointed at Latrell. Latrell sprints it over. They embrace things like that. And that, for me, if I'm a Souths fan, so excited because Jai Gray's been enormous to start the year. You can't take that one jersey away from him. You need to find ways to put Latrell in this team. And at the moment, if that's 5'8", it's 5'8". And it seems to be they're both brought in, which I love.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is I think that Jai Gray is a specialist fullback. I don't think he can really play other positions. He could. I'm sure he could. But I think he's a specialist fullback. And the work rate that he has at fullback, like I've talked about this a lot, lays the platform for the team. Latrell, I've said this again in other podcasts, he injects himself when he wants to. And don't get me wrong, in his attack, he's unstoppable when he's in those moods. But he's not the type of fullback to lay that platform all the time for the rest of your team. So put him into a position where he doesn't need to do that. Put him into a position where he can inject himself when that's what he needs to do. And to be honest with you, I'd need to see more evidence. And I know he sort of has tried out there in the Roosters and stuff like that, but he's a bit more mature now than he was back then. He was a bit of a kid back then. You could almost see it, couldn't you? You could almost see him filling that 5'8" role and either having Cody play that 7 role or whatever. I don't know. They've also got, if they needed to, Jack Whiten, which is just terrifying to see that you could just have him come across and play in the halves if you wanted to shift Latrell back to center. Like, they've got so many options. It's great.
You know what it does do for the Bunnies, and it's a hard one because he's like a son to him, but I think Cody Walker's contract is up at the end of this year. You might be able to quickly double check that for me while I'm talking about this because I don't want to take away, but I'm almost 100% certain it is. It also opens up the Pandora's box there because Latrell's shown so far in the early stages where we can only go off what we've seen, and he played almost half of that game last week at 5'8" as well. He can handle 5'8". Jai Gray has shown he can be a week in, week out fullback and a very good fullback at that. It almost opens up to be like, well, Cody Walker's been great for the club, love what he's done, but is there room to maybe spend his cash elsewhere, have Latrell to 5'8" on a more permanent basis from next year, and Jai Gray as your fullback? That's sort of a way that I'm not attached at the heart to South Sydney. I know what Cody Walker sort of means to him. For me, that might seem easier to make than it does when you're inside those 4 walls or wearing that red and green colours. But that's something that could be a possibility moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. Look, Cody Walker, I just had a look at it for you. I don't know if he ever signed it or if we've heard about it, but it says he's about to sign a 12-month extension for the 2026 season, around $650,000. So I don't know whether it doesn't say anywhere whether he's signed that or not. I'm not sure if he did, but either way, look, having him there on a 1 year deal and then still having that
Not the
Latrell
word.
experiment. Yeah, having that Latrell experiment while Cody's out, seeing whether it would tinkering around with it, seeing whether it work. Not the worst idea. We know he can kick. We know how good of a pass he has on him, and we know that when he wants to run, he's a freak. He's actually, if you really think about it, he's kind of perfect for that 5'8" role. If he actually epitomizes all the different traits you want in a 5'8", to be completely honest with you. And yeah, I see no reason why it wouldn't work.
Could even be a halfback. Who knows? Humphries might get some big contracts thrown at him that South Sydney can't match, and you just keep Cody Walker around to play that 7 jersey for next year while they find ways to overcome it. Because no doubt, I reckon Bobby next year will be his final year. And so far, it looks like the Dodd experiment hasn't worked because by all reports, I know he's suspended this week, but even to start the year, his New South Wales Cup performances have not been anything to push him into a first grade spot, which is a real worry considering the money is on there as well. So, but who knows? Let us know in the comments, guys. That's a big talking point. What you would do, I guess, moving forward when it comes to just the makeup of that team. Last game on the Saturday would be the Raiders 50 beating the Eels 12. So the Eels make the list for the second time in just 6 weeks. So that was a joy to post. Really enjoyed putting that up there. But yeah, joys of being a Parramatta supporter. Now, shout out, we do not spend too much time on the Eels for these because we do a Para podcast now. Going into episode 2. Going into episode 2 this week, our Para podcast. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. Don't worry about it. I'm being immature. I'm being immature. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm not going to repeat it.
Yourself. I'll listen back to the podcast. I'll understand what you said there. And I'm sure people in the car listening right now are laughing their heads off with you. But just as I was saying, our Para podcast is out now, powered by League of Inches. It's myself and Jake. We go into all things Parramatta each and every week. There is so much to say. I'm telling you now, guys, make sure if you're a Para fan or just a league fan in general, you want to make sure you listen to this podcast. So go and subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever.
We've got a lot to say this week
available.
Too.
Yeah, it's available on YouTube as well, so you'll be able to watch us fire up. There'll be a lot, and I'll probably pre-warn saying there'll be some curse words probably said, no doubt. So just be ready for that. But that's where we'll go. Yeah, that's where we'll go in depth. But for now, let's start with the Raiders because the Raiders were, you know what? The Raiders were good. They were unrelentless in a way. I don't think they were a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 in any way, which shows you how bad the Eels were. But I don't want to give them take away anything from the Raiders because, again, Hudson Young, 2 weeks in a row now, he's been phenomenal. And I've already put a post up today for mine. He's just pushed his way into a Blues jersey going off current form. You just had to put him there somewhere. And unfortunately, we've got a riches in for the Blues of back rowers at the moment. Unfortunately, someone needs to make way for him. And I think the next move now for the next couple of weeks is can he find a way to start or is it coming off the bench? He's just sensational. He's just going from strength to strength. All year he's just been consistent. Phenomenal.
Oh, man. Since he's come out this season, he's just been 100%. He's been a bit of a try-scoring machine, which not all second rowers can sort of say that, but he just seems to find the line every week somehow. I definitely. Sorry?
I was just going to say, I thought you finished with what you're saying, but I'll just double down with this. The Raiders forward pack was absolutely put the Eels to shame. Like, absolutely to shame. They were world-class against a pack of under 12s. It sounds harsh, but that's what it looked like in the end because, look, Horsburgh ran his absolute arse out. 2 great stints from him, ended up with 216 meters. Tarpany was just absolutely insane. His numbers, I would sit here for a long time reading his numbers. He was that good. Papali'i is just doing what he needs to do at the moment. He hasn't lost anything. He's been sensational. You look at the edges, we've already spoken about Young, but Nicholson as well. Like, this was just a complete performance from a forward pack that I still think is being underrated by many out there, but he's going to keep the Raiders in so many games and win them so many games this year. This is why I think they're a real smoky for the top 4.
Absolutely, and they've had some inconsistent games, and I think they're still finding their feet. But they're a bit of a young pack too. Like they've still definitely got. It's actually really good for them to have Jamal Fogarty to kind of lead them around because he is a bit of an old head. Same with Papali. I think that he's a really good person to have around because again, they're a very young and very exciting team. But they, even those teams, you need to have that kind of that person to sort of simmer the boys down and things like that, which is good. You're talking about the forward pack putting us to shame. Most of their forwards ran for over not only 100, most of their forwards ran for over 150 meters. Only 2 did not. That is awesome for them. Like I'm not even putting that one down to Parramatta. They just came at us. They just came at Parramatta, and then Parramatta just had nothing to say about it. To be honest with you, you got there before I could. Corey Horsburgh, what an incredible season this guy is having. Honestly, whatever happened between him and Ricky, they've sorted it out. And not only have they sorted it out, Ricky's given him bloody something. I don't know what it is. Not insinuating anything like illegal or anything, but just whatever's happened. I don't know. I just had to say that. Whatever's happened, Corey Horsburgh is playing like a man possessed every week. I'm more and more impressed, and he is not a person that I have ever been particularly impressed by in footy. I've just always thought he was okay. He was a semi decent prop. He's treating him. He's playing like a world class prop. He's Do we know who he represents internationally?
Well, he's a Queenslander, so it's Australia at the moment. So there's no other ties.
Well, yeah. As far as it stands, I tell you what, I don't think he's played for him yet. I think he could be playing himself into an Australia jersey.
Well, he didn't play Origin last year. I think he's back in the Origin scene this year for sure.
Yeah, so I definitely think he's played
starting.
I definitely think he has played himself into an Origin jersey. That's for sure. I'm 100% confident about that, and I think going on from there, depending, I suppose, on how he plays in Origin, I reckon he'll play himself into an Australia jersey.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Shout out to the Haasnat as well. Again, they're just doing what they do best. Fogarty steering the ship around. Strange, always looking dangerous. And again, on the weekend, I thought he was elite level 5'8" once again, which it's really exciting, I guess, for the Raiders, knowing that they've got him there. They've got Ethan Sanders in the wings. I think if I was the Raiders right now, I'd be doing everything possible to keep Jamal Fogarty. I know that I think by all reports, they're only offering him about 450, maybe 500 max. I think from what 1.2 million the Manly Seagulls are offering him, so an extra 100K per year. Surely you can find a way, because this guy is so instrumental into your team. It's just so clear. Last year, you were on a run to make the top 4, and then you lost him, and you lost a lot of the games, and it just derailed your season. Where this year, it's shown once again how important he is. Surely you sit there and you go, we just need to make this happen. Like, I know you've signed Sanders. You probably promised him a first-grade spot, but you've also at times as a club got to prioritise either winning a comp or being successful. And I think you're a much better chance in the next 18 months to win a comp with Jamal Fogarty than you are with Ethan Sanders.
Absolutely. Look, junior development is important, and Sanders signed across because he wanted that way up. But a team can make a signing a year in advance, and sometimes potentially 2 years in advance, and whatever. But they don't know what's going to happen in the time between that, right? Yes, they signed Ethan Sanders, and they've gone, yeah, we want you and everything. But he's not playing his way. I know he's I think he fractured his eye socket, or I think he's out injured at the moment. But he is not going to play his way into a team right now with Jamal Fogarty in it. And if you aren't asking questions about whether they are pressing their way into the team, why are you changing? Why are you trying to change that? I understand Jamal Fogarty's getting a bit older and that he spent a lot of last season out. That was an injury. That happens. And I don't think that was because of age. He tore his bicep. Like that can just happen to you. But how much better they look with him on the field? Composure.
Oh, so good.
Much deeper kicks. And also, his bombs are one of the scariest, if not possibly, maybe Burton bombs, the scariest in the comp.
Burton's almost put his away, though. So Fogarty's taking the lead because he does it more and more. Fogarty does it on a weekly basis. So, and he can almost aim his as well, which is the scariest thing. He can almost put it where exactly he wants to put him, which Burton, I know, used to have those ones that would go off the skew off the boot and either go 5 meters or backwards or out in the full. Where Fogarty, I don't know the last time he's had a bomb that was miscued. Like, he's so precise, and his kicking game, I think, he's the most underrated kicking game in the comp. I think he's the most underrated player in the comp. I'll go that far. I'm a huge Jamal Fogarty fan. I just think the Raiders have rocks in their head if they end up letting him go because of 100,000. Like, that's ridiculous. Just make it work, make it happen, because he's instrumental into what you're trying to achieve at that club. The Eels,
100%.
Where, yeah, off you go. Go, Jay.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give and
go the positive.
Yeah, I'm starting with the positives only because that's the way we've been doing this so far. But then I will quickly jump into the negatives after. I've got two positives, two players I want to give raps to, and that is it. Bailey Simonson, coming back off an ACL, was a knee reco. Either way, I think it was an ACL injury. Coming back off an ACL injury, I know he's had like 1 or 1.5 sort of weeks in reserve grade to sort of get his fitness up. Got thrust back in because Zach Lomax was injured. Man, what an absolute freak. 19 runs per 197 meters. He was the one, other than one other player I'm about to mention, he was one of two bright spots the entire 80 minutes. The other bright spot I'm going to say is Luca Moretti. The guy, for a while now, has kind of been he middled. He was never really like your sort of top player, and still he we're going to need to see more from him consistently to be able to make this judgment. But he, in the 2 weeks he's been back, has done more than any other forward in our team, to be completely honest with you. And let me just see the minutes he played. Yeah, so he played 42 minutes, which is much higher than what he got last week. And he was our only forward to run for more than 100 meters. And there was two other forwards who ran for over 70. That's when we just looked at the Raiders forward pack who ran for over 200. Two of them ran for over 200. There's just nothing you can say. I'll move on to you, and then I'll rant in a second.
Shout out to Bailey. I think he was one of the only bright spots, and like, I didn't really notice Luca, but then obviously we chat and stuff daily, especially after a para game. But I get what you're saying now, and those numbers speaks for themselves. And he was head and shoulders above pretty much the entire forward pack, which they should be absolutely embarrassed about. Like I said before, when I was raving about the Raiders, this should be something that the Eels take so personally. It doesn't seem to have hit them yet. The fact that the forward pack is pedestrian at best. And I put a post out yesterday and I said that that they looked reserve grade down, and that's an insult to reserve grade sides and forward packs, because it is, because I've actually seen reserve grade sides perform better than they have. And we're choosing players who consistent, like people go on about, we started to look better and we got the win against the Dragons. Don't forget, for a lot of that Dragons game, if they had better halves, they would have put us away. We would not have won that game. It was because of their lack of halves that we were any chance to win that game and end up winning. I don't buy into this whole, and I'll get more into detail obviously on Tuesday, but I don't buy into the whole we're improving, because I just don't really see it. We don't concede that many points. Defensively, we've been so poor. The forward pack is atrocious. They are just, most of those don't deserve to wear the jersey again, to be brutally honest, because I'm sick of raving about him and giving him credit for a good performance every 10 games. And that's what it feels like it's gotten to with a lot of these guys, that people quickly go, like, for instance, let's talk about Junior. Last week, no doubt, probably his best game in that jersey and like I said last year, since 2022, that run. That should actually be insulting to hear, and to probably acknowledge as a player as well, that that's where it's gotten to, that you're that bad that performance sticks out for almost 2 years, or over 2 years. Like, that's horrendous. And Sean Lane should not be wearing a jersey. I don't know what he does. I don't know who he has sucked up to at the club, but he does not deserve to do anything, because he is literally out there doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, my misso, watches almost most games with me because she's very supportive of what I do. God love her. But even she gets to the point where she says, I don't, and she goes, I can be quite harsh, which I get, but she goes, I don't know what else to say about Lane. Like, what does he continue to do to warrant getting that jersey? He starts every week, and it's not just been from this coach. And like, people say give Riles time, but these are the decisions he is making to have these players play, to have Joe Offahengawi play. Joe's offered nothing all year, absolutely nothing. Yet he's a pick every week. We just dropped Sam Tuivasa on the weekend for who knows what. He was one of the most exciting players we've got so far coming through, and for this year, consistency wise. And what's his reward for doing so? Being dropped. He should have been starting on the weekend, not dropped. Starting. I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. There's so much more to say. I don't want to bore everyone, but
no, we'll go into it on the hour Power
our para guys,
sure.
our para. Make sure it's released Wednesday, but subscribe now. Get on the front foot and make sure you listen and check it out. Anything else to add for now?
Look,
you said you had a bit of a rant.
I do have a rant, but I don't know whether I want to save it or not. Look, I'll do a quick rant here, and I'll do a better rant on Tuesday, or when we record our pod. Junior Paulo, you are the captain of our football team. Again, whether you want to be or not right now with our main captain out, I don't care. You have the C next to your name. Do better. Simple as that. You are not performing like a captain. You're not performing like you should be in first grade. You're not performing like you should be in reserve grade. Sean Lane, you shouldn't be playing football. You shouldn't be playing rugby league. Mate, I'm 5'8", and I could do better than you. All right? I'll call that out right now. Charlie Geimer, I think everyone raved and ranted about him last year for he played 2 games and he had, 4 good runs? You know what I mean? No, like, what's he done this year? No, don't let him go. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be better, like improve yourself. You want to get into this side and you got dropped and you get the opportunity to get the call back up and then you put that out there, that performance. Like, are you happy with that? Are you happy performing like that? I'm going to keep ranting like this on Tuesday. I've got way more to talk about. I don't want to bore everyone who's not Parramatta fan. I'm just
No. More to come. Plenty to obviously again plug it. Make sure you listen to it, guys. You need to listen to it. We are coming off the back fence, uncensored. What you love the most, we will be producing it. One final thing I'll say, just I don't get why we're still going on about Hopgood starting at hooker. He's not a hooker. It severely impacts us. We have not started well all season. Riley Smith's the best hooker at the club. Put him there for 80. See if he can last it. If he's not, take him off the last 10. I'd rather start the game on fire than try and claw back a 40-point deficit because just for whatever reason, Hopgood is not a hooker. No offense to him. He's just not. Let him play lock or prop, whatever you're going to do with him, but do not let him play a crucial spine position. It's not on. Anyway, moving to the Sunday games and positive chat now. Melbourne Storm 42 points to 14. Goodness me, I felt for the Warriors because no team was getting close to the Melbourne Storm in that first half. That was a scary, scary performance. Again, I feel like they talk at halftime and go, all right, we were just up to 4th or 5th gear. Let's go back to 1 or 2 now. Let's make sure we get through to next week. They rest players. Hughes didn't come back, and they just sort of just go about it. That first half of rugby league, the Melbourne Storm are that far above everyone else in this competition, in my opinion, already, that I've never been more confident in saying you may as well give a team the competition now. They are streets ahead.
Oh, I said this. I remember we put up a post that I said this, that they were going to win the comp like before the season began. And some guy was like, "Oh, if you want to be brave, say someone like the Cowboys are going to win it." Well, I'm not going to do that if they're not going to win it. Like I'm gonna call out the team that's going to win. I'm not going to put my name on something saying that I don't believe in. And I said that from the beginning, they're going to do what the Panthers did against them after the 2020 grand final, right? They can do the exact same thing. They now have grand final experience because a lot of them didn't. They are now hungry. And I think most of all, Cameron Munster especially wants to put a grand final on his name, not on the greats that he's played with. And I think you wait and see the lengths that he will go to, the lengths that the entire team will go to do that. They will win this competition.
Yeah, no, 100%. I want to shout out to Ryan Pappenhausen. I'll declare, I reckon he's back to his vintage best now, and he's got a lot more confidence. He still seems to be taking a slight knock here and there, and maybe gets a slight scare from obviously his history. Fair enough as well. I'd probably be exactly the same if I have gone through what he's gone through, but he's just so busy again in everything. Absolutely amazing for him. Played the full 80 as well. Wasn't one of the ones that got brought off. And really stepped up with Hughes going off. And he played most of the game as well, Hughes, when he was clearly injured. But I was just really impressed with Pappenhausen's game. He took the game by the scruff of the neck from almost the opening set and was unrelentless with it. And he's quickly going up those that ladder of the fullback rankings as well, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, he's already pretty high in that ranking for me. Obviously, he went down with the amount of injuries and stuff that he's had, but the guy's always been a freak. His acceleration just blows teams away, and if his acceleration is enough in that, and his star power, I guess you could almost call it, is enough that even if he goes to pretend to run and then he gives it, you have two people that are going to look at him. He's the perfect decoy, or not decoy even. How do I put this? He's the perfect. I can't find my words right now. He's like the perfect dummy almost, in the sense that
decoy.
It's target. I said decoy at first. I'm gonna say target. Like what I mean when I say target is, that other teams are going to target him because of what he can bring, right? So using that, and he becomes a decoy. So blah, I'll throw that in there. Using him as a target, okay, you can either give it to him if it's on, or use him to expand spaces around him. And whenever a team has a play like that and they use it correctly, you are in for a treat. And the Storm know how to use that correctly. 100%. They are just incredible. I'll give a quick shout out with 3 line breaks for 233 meters. Xavier Coates, what an incredible athlete he is. I was always a massive fan of his as soon as he came across to the Storm, because I knew they'd use him correctly, and they do. He's one of the fastest in the game, and he's one of the most athletic in the game. I love that they target him for kicks. I don't know if he scored one of kicks tonight. I can't remember, to be honest. But I just think he's an absolute freak.
I think...
And Elias... Oh, no.
No, go on.
I was just going to say my last one is Elias Katoa. Probably the top 3, in my opinion, edge back rows in the competition.
Yeah. I want to give one... Yeah, he is. And to be honest, I actually thought today was one of his quieter games of the year, which says a lot about him and how his quality is where it is as a player. Probably the most underappreciated player in the game, Josh King. And for this team, he's sensational. Again, today got the try, I know, but even just his work, he just goes about it. He got a try assist as well. He just goes about his work nonstop, doesn't whinge, doesn't moan. He's got all these superstars around him. I just never feel like he gets the accolades he deserves. I have him in there as one of the top 2 or 3 players in this game today, and a huge impact, which is a lot because they've got superstars all over the park. But for him to have that sort of a game, I think a huge credit to Josh King, because he just does it every week. He just doesn't care. Like, I know their big recruit over the offseason was Stefano Utoikamanu. But again, Josh King just doesn't care, just goes about it, knows what he's going to do, and does it every week, 8, 9 out of 10 every week.
100%. If you're looking at stats, he actually technically had a quiet game for meters, but it's not about that. It's about what he did in defense. He shores up the middle. Like, he just doesn't let anything through. And I actually have mentioned him before. I think that Josh King is an absolute underrated achiever. He just achieves every game. You're absolutely right on that. I think he's so underrated. No one ever talks about him. It's because he plays at the Storm, and I'd say it's a benefit, because no one's using Josh King as the person when they're coaching to go, let's focus on Josh King. Let's shut him down, because that's not your target. He's a prop, but then he just does the work every game, and he's that platform. I always talk about a platform. You want a forward that's going to lay you a platform. Get Josh King in your team.
Yeah, spot on. I don't have much to say on the Warriors. I do feel for him. They obviously lost James Harris early, which was a huge blow. Inspirational leader has been fantastic for him over basically the start of this year, taking away the Vegas performance. Just one shout out I will do. I thought Aaron Clark was actually really impressive for the time he was on the park. He didn't stop trying, making little half breaks and stuff, breaking tackles, which says a lot for that Melbourne team that he was up against because he played majority of that first half as well. But I just thought, I know it was a big game for him as well, personal milestone, but I just thought he was probably a Warriors standout. He's obviously got that 13 jersey now with no Dylan Walker at the club anymore. So there's probably a bit of pressure on him to make sure he makes it work. And so far, I feel like he's done a really good job.
Oh, 100%. I've never really been a massive Aaron Clark fan, if I'm being completely honest with myself. I never really have. I could never say he doesn't work hard because he does. I just think he's got too many errors in his game and things like that. Maybe a few missed tackles, but yeah, he definitely, like you said, he didn't give up, and I don't think he ever does. Credit to him, to be fair, because it's easy to give up in a game like that where you're just getting absolutely belted. But other than that, I don't have much to say about the Warriors. Look, it's hard to go into depth about a team that just had that put on them. They won the second half, but you and I both know that's not a consolation. That's just embarrassing. It's just something people say to make themselves feel better. Oh, we won the second half. Yeah, but did you win the game? No.
They got blown off the park, and the Storm almost stayed inside the sheds in the second half. They just went about and just made sure they all stayed healthy. Got through the final game of the round. The West Tigers beating the Newcastle Knights 20 points to 4. The Tigers were very good. They went to an away, obviously sold out crowd. I think this was a bit. This is a part of the Tigers' identity now that I really like. The fact that they went there could be very daunting, and I think a lot of the Tigers teams of old would have just got there, turned up, and gone, "Yeah, we're probably going to get beat today. That's just what's going to happen." They did the opposite. They went there from very early on. You could see that they were taking to the atmosphere and wanted to shut the Knights fans up as early as possible. They achieved that. They stopped the Knights' best attacking player in Ponga a lot. Their spine after the Knights had no answers. The Tigers, led by Terrell May, I thought a really, really good win. They're continuing to build quite nicely, in my opinion. We keep talking about the talent they've got there. I think Lockie Galvin, again, had a great game. Truver was quite busy, scored a really good try. You could tell Lua was back. I know stats-wise now he didn't do much in terms of game-wise, but it's sort of more so what he brings, like energy, and he's always on the going around trying to plan, organize. That's what the Tigers really need this year, and that's what he finally did. Probably been criticised in the past about his game management not being quite there, but I thought this game this afternoon he was really good, not stats-wise, just in what he performed. So the Tigers, Jake, I think very good performance and one they can continue to build off and are really improving as not just a team, as a club.
God, I'm loving watching the Tigers play. Yeah, I really am. And I'm so happy for them. They've suffered. Their fans, I'm happy more for their fans. Their fans have suffered, man. Because, 3 years of spoons. You and I are whinging, and it's only been we didn't even get the spoon last year. We got close, but it still sucks. And it's so awesome to see their team actually giving a crap, but not only giving a crap, they finally have the talent. They have a bit of the stock to be able to win some of these sort of games. I know you said Jerome Luai didn't necessarily. He sort of did a bit more of a game management role. He still had his biggest running game of the year so far. 17 runs for 133 meters, and I think he needs that. I think he's going to need to find his balance, and that's going to take time. The new team and being the halfback, which I know he did a lot of last year, but he's not a traditional halfback. He needs to find that balance, and I think he did tonight. I think that's where he needs to be at. He needs to have the game management and have the running game. I thought Lachlan Galvin was monstrous in 5'8" as well, with 23 runs for 199 meters. That's 5'8" stuff that you just go geez, if only my 5'8" put that much effort in a game. Not all fans are saying that because some of theirs do, but no, I thought I'm just so glad to see the Tigers winning, and I think that it was a massive effort across the park. I'm loving their team at the moment. I think that they've got Terrell May and Bole do a huge job. Samuela Fainu does a good job. still not sold on Seyfarth. You know what? I'm not. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't rate him. I really don't. I think that I'm sure they can get somebody else to be playing there. Jack Bird, maybe. I'm not sure who it needs to be, but I just don't know what it is about Seyfarth that I don't rate. I don't feel like he ever contributes as much as the rest of his team does, offensively or defensively. I don't know what he brings to the team that really makes them better. I'm sure that they have either a junior coming through or someone that they could play over him.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think that's probably something that they definitely want to strengthen next year. There, especially that spot in the back row. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do there. At the moment, probably making do with what they've got. But I'm sort of with you there. Galvin, the Tigers are probably going to start sweating now because he obviously hasn't re-signed yet. The extension's on the table, so there's still all these rumors and talks. But the longer he keeps leaving it, it's more than likely going to happen. The fact that he doesn't, he goes to the open market. He's doing himself no disservices whatsoever at the moment. He's raising his price as we speak. Like
every game,
in my opinion, if Dylan Brown just went for 1.3, what Galvin goes for and the amount of years he'll end up going for is ridiculous. Like, what a talent. What a superstar in the making. He is doing numbers already that we've seen some of the 5'8" greats of the past do at certain points of their game. Not consistently, but just do. And he's done it as these performances already, like even counting last year, probably over a handful of times. Like he's a fair dinkum freak.
And he's 19, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
He's not. The guy's 19. He's had a year of football in his career. Like he's still got a whole career ahead of him.
Tell you what, you would like to be his manager at the moment because that's going to be a very, very good spot to be. He has literally all the power at the moment, Lockie Galvin, and it's a great spot to be.
Quick question for you though: do you think if the Tigers keep winning, he'll be as likely to leave? I think if the Tigers keep winning and they're playing the way they do, he'll start to sort of see. I think the reason he wanted to leave so badly before, I understand his value's going to go up, and they're going to have to pay for him if they want to keep him, right? But I think if they are winning games and he is having success, his family lives there. Why would he? He doesn't need to move away from home if he doesn't want to. If the Tigers can afford to keep him and they're showing success and he's enjoying himself under Benji and he's enjoying himself around the team that he's around, I see no reason why he doesn't stay. To be completely honest with you, they've got money. I don't think they have any other than Luai. I don't think they have any massively huge people in that crazy money. They could probably afford him.
They're definitely building nicely. So I'm not going to put a line through that at all. Like I would not be surprised if he ends up sticking in and playing on with the Tigers. A lot will probably to do with what Luai decides to do. I think they can start building a very nice partnership in there. So that'll be interesting. And you effectively sell it to him like this. You've obviously got your great 5'8" coach in Benji. He's going to be able to help him no matter what, in my opinion. He's already done a heap for Lockie Galvin's game. It's very clear to see. You're basically making Lockie Galvin the face of the club for 10 years. 10 years, and you just build around him. You just keep saying, you are that important to us. We are already willing to build around you and make sure we put in place what needs to happen. It's just going to be the price. Like, it could quickly get to the point where he prices himself out. I know the Tigers seem to have a bit of money. They've had the recent retirements of certain players, and they've lost Clemmer and stuff, for instance. So there's definitely got some players there, like Olam just retired. So they should have money. It just depends on because let's say if this talk started at the start of the year, let's say Gavin probably was saying, I want 900 or so. And you're probably going, yeah, that's fair. If we went to the table right now, he's probably going, I want 1.2 at least. And you're probably going, you know what, I probably can't say no to that. Like, that's probably what he's asking for, whether the Tigers agree or not. I don't know. But going off the Dylan Brown figure, I would have Lockie Galvin almost on par with that, if not a better prospect at signing, because let's not forget the Knights signed Brown as a halfback and he's not. So if I'm signing Lockie Galvin as a 5'8", I've got no doubt in my mind, and I don't even think it's actually a big prediction to make. In the next 2 to 3 years, Lockie Galvin will be the best 5'8" in the game.
Well, he's past the second year scaries. I don't know what they're actually called. There's like a word, there's like a terminology that people use where, like, a debut player might have like a breakout season And then that second year, they kind of ease off the pedal, or you don't really see him again. He's already past that stage. We know he's got talent, and we know he can continue to use that talent to win games, to win football games. You pair him up with a good halfback and a half decent forward pack, and he's going to win you games. I almost want to see him. First of all, I'd love to see him at Parramatta. I'll just throw that out there. Second of all, I'd love to see him stay at the Tigers in the sense that I want to see them have some success. To be completely honest with you, I do. Their fans deserve it. They've got some diehard, passionate fans who have been sticking around with them for 3 years, to be honest, and to not have jumped ship. And I want to see them have some success because they're fans who pay their good money to be members and all that stuff. They deserve it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a huge part of me that actually hopes he stays at the Tigers as well. I like to see him build. Finally, final team of the night to talk about. They suffered the loss, obviously, the Newcastle Knights. There has to be that much pressure on Adam O'Brien at the moment. It's not funny. And I cannot see a world where he remains coach. I'd go as far as probably a month's time. I'm not kidding here when I say this, but they have been very, very, very poor. And on this game, for instance, they played at a sold out game, a home ground. Crowd was there, ready. We've seen them grow an extra leg when they play there. What was that? What was that, Jake?
I don't even know how to describe it. If I'm being completely honest with you, and it's a bit hard considering I'm on a podcast where like my main job is to describe things. But it's a struggle because he just expected so much more from them. I think like it's not as if they have a poor forward pack. They've got really good outside backs. We know what they've got out there. Is the question the halves? Their defense in general was nothing to poke a stick at. But is it the halves that we're looking at? Like, Phoenix Crosland played in the halves today, and he's not the answer for mine. I don't think he's going to win you any football games. Fletcher Sharpen is a fine 5'8", but needs to be with a good organising halfback. And I'm going to jump across. I don't know what today was. Today was just poor. Missed tackles, nothing in off it. They just threw nothing at them. That's the biggest thing. Like I said, the answer is the halves, in my opinion. They didn't have anything to throw at them, and because of that, they threw nothing at them. I'm going to jump a little further into the future. I'm going to use my magic crystal ball here. Next year, nothing's going to change. I don't care if they change their coach. If they don't make any new signings, if they don't fix something in their forward pack, nothing will change. Because I'll tell you this, Dylan Brown is not winning you that football game. If you swap him at Phoenix Crosland, Dylan Brown's not going to win them that football game. Do you think he would have?
No chance.
I don't think he affects the outcome of that game at all. Continue. Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to just amplify what you're saying. So this isn't just an issue from tonight's game. And although people go, oh, they didn't have Cogger. Okay, cool. They've looked like this almost all year. Let's take away. I'm going to go through the points they've scored so far this year. Round 1 against the Tigers, 10 points. Round 2 against the Dolphins side, who let's just remember, they had the week before where they had the family issues and they went through a cyclone, pretty traumatic and impacted the Dolphins significantly. The Dolphins had to go to Newcastle almost to start the week. They couldn't train at their home ground because of flooding, things like that. So they got the Dolphins at the premium time. They scored 26 points. They had a good win against a weekend opposition. The next week against the Titans, who I think we can all say safely have been below par, not the ideal team and to compare yourself with. They scored 6 points. The Doggies shut them out. They scored 0 points and didn't look like at any point in that 80 minutes like they're going to score. Credit to the Dogs' defense. But again, a Knights team led by Kalen Ponga should be able to score something, you would think. And then tonight, 4 points.
Well,
that is diabolical. Absolutely diabolical. And I know the point you're going to make. I'm going to get there. I'm going to say this is on Adam Bryan as a coach, because if your coaching plan is very clearly Kalen Ponga and revolves around Kalen Ponga, you should not be a head coach of an NRL team. I'm sorry to say it, but he has got you out of trouble now for a couple of years. He has got you and scraped. Like Knights fans, every time we bag the Knights, we get DM'd and we get people in the comments going, well, we made the 8, blah, blah, blah. You made the 8 because of a guy called Kalen Ponga, who's an absolute freak, and there's no denying that. You've now got to a point where you've turned an absolute freak into potentially your biggest liability in your team, because every defense, like we've seen from the Dogs last week, we've seen from the Tigers today, no, all we need to do is shut down Kalen Ponga, which they've both done successfully. And the Dogs are a defensive powerhouse, but the Tigers are not. So I guarantee you every other team moving forward will probably be able to do this. And you've got no plan B into your attack. You should be walking in tomorrow, if I was Adam O'Brien, and saying, I'm done here. I can't do it. I'm going to give the town back their team. Off we go. Because it might sound harsh, but it's clearly not working. There is clearly evident issues there at the Knights. There is no attack whatsoever. And Kalen Ponga is human. He cannot do it all himself. And I don't want to hear anyone say to me, yeah, but we're signed Dylan Brown for next year. He is not an organizer. He will do nothing to help this. Seen on the weekend again, for all his performances apart from last week, has been diabolical at best. He's going to be $1.3 million. He's not a playmaker. He's not going to guide your team around. He's not going to help Kalen Ponga anymore, because, to be honest, Fletcher Sharp is just as good attack-wise and hasn't done much to help Kalen Ponga's game either. It's just not going to work, and that goes down now to the coach, his decisions around things, and there is no game plan, in my opinion, that is helping the Knights play to their absolute best, and there's no way you can continue on this way.
No. I'll follow on your point with Kalen Ponga, right? So let's have a quick chat about him. We all know what he can produce. We all know that he's one of the best players in the competition. And that's just a fact, because he is. No man can single-handedly win you a comp. Okay? It's actually, we've seen this with 3 different people. The 3 different people I want to reference are Jared Hayne, Ben Barber, Tom Trbojevic. All 3 of those players had their best breakout seasons, right, where they were the best player in their team. They were these freaks. They were these incredible players who would win you football games, right? Did any of them win a comp? Oh, actually, Ben Barber won a comp.
Ben Barber did,
but not in his breakout year, which is kind of what I was alluding to. The one at the Bulldogs, not when he was playing. He won that at the Sharks, but I'm talking about the Bulldogs when he had that year when he was like their only point of attack when they were winning games, kind of thing. Kalen Ponga needs something around him to do what he does, but also to be able to then give it to other people to do what they need to do. We were just talking about this with not Reece Walsh. We were talking about it with a different fullback. I don't remember who he said it was. It was one where we said that if they get used as a target, teams can work around them and use them as a decoy. I don't remember who we talked about it with. It was one of the people in this. It might have been it might have been Gutho. Basically, if Adam O'Brien wants any chance of keeping his job this year, what he needs to do is start actually being a coach and use his team and use Ponga, the fact that they have one of the most targeted players in the competition, and use him as a method to score points around him, not through him. Kalen Ponga is not going to score you all the points in the game. What you need to do is use the fact that people think you're going to pass it to him and give it to other people running through gaps, and I promise you, you'll see some form of success more than what you are seeing currently.
Yeah. No, absolutely spot on. And to be honest, even like someone like Bradman Best, I think has dropped off dramatically since their bye in round 4. I don't think he's come back in anywhere near the form he had before that. He was looking quite good. Defense poor. Attack not quite there either. Like, I know he's a big bustling centre, but just being really poor. Everyone around him, and it's not a pile on Ponga, because I really rate Ponga. I think he'll be a walk-up start for the Maroons fullback position for sure. Players also need to start picking their game up around him and realising they're professional footballers, they're NRL footballers. And again, if this goes back to the coach and the style of play that that the coach is implying, which it does seem like has to be the case. It just seems like it's an obvious choice. I just don't know. Like, it's the biggest rocks in your head moment that I've ever had on the page. Like, it is the definition of why that quote is famous here. Adam O'Brien, you got rocks in your head, mate. You absolutely have rocks in your head. And he has shortened into a $1 favourite to be first coach sacked this year. And I reckon I'm going to say, I said it, I think, the start of the year, Brad Arthur will be walking into that job either mid-year or at the end of the year. And I know when I said this last time, people came in and go, oh, they're best mates, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't matter. That is diddly squat in this game, guys. Managers don't give a shit who is best mates with who. Not going to say they're going to stab each other in the back. I don't think that'll happen, but it will happen where they have no control. If the Knights sack Adam O'Brien, Brad Arthur's not going to sit there and go, I don't want the job. He has already said he wants to come back to Australia. He wants to be an NRL coach, not a Super League coach. No disrespect to Super League. He wants to be at home with his family coaching NRL. He gets the opportunity to come back into the Newcastle Knights. His son's already there, closer to home with his family. No doubt most of his family will move up there.
Dylan Brown.
He will be, and he's Dylan Brown, very close with Dylan Brown as well, almost a father-son relationship there. He will be the head coach of the Newcastle Knights at some point either this year, I'm going to say at some point this year, because it'll either be during the year or once the season finishes. But Adam O'Brien will not be the coach moving forward. It just can't happen. It is just absolute stupidity if the Knights power brokers sit back and continue to see this, because most Knights fans I know say the same thing. They say that he's not the coach anymore for us. He's not the coach to lead us forward. It's time to make the call.
Yeah, 100%. Look, we've said it since the start of the season that we thought he was going to be the first one sacked. Fully agree with that. I think he needs to go. He's been there long enough. He's had his chance, and yeah, they've made the 8. It's a bit interesting though. And I don't want to keep bringing back to Parramatta stuff, but when Brad Arthur was in coach and he was sort of making the 8, but we were getting out first week, there was always a lot of discussion with, he's not going to be the guy to take us there and stuff like that. But we kept making the 8, and eventually we sort of made that harder push and whatever. We kept pretty consistently sort of making the 8, and that became a real sort of contested point. And eventually we pushed for a grand final. They're very different. There are 2 very different teams, in my opinion, because we actually had a team that we worked around, and they have just one player who's just rescued them for 2 years now. I think they have some quality players in their team, and all they need is a few new players to plug gaps in certain areas. A new coach could do a lot with that playing squad. Adam O'Brien definitely needs to go.
Freshen the group up, freshen the start, and see what happens, because when you've got players like Ponga and that, you need to take advantage of that, and you need to be doing more than just achieving top 8s. And the way they're playing at the moment, there is no way that they're looking more like the wooden spoon team, like many of us predicted them to be this year, than anything else at the moment. But that's it. We have gone for a long time, a massive podcast that we thought wouldn't be this. It's always happens here. You know us by now. Hope you have enjoyed it. Again, go like, subscribe the episode. Wherever you're listening or watching, subscribe there as well. It does go a hell of a long way. Add your comments in. Plenty that we've spoken about tonight. We want to know your thoughts on anything. Please get involved. Be part of it. Shout out to the Magic Round event coming up. Magic Round is just a few weeks away now. We'll all be there. Got our event on the Saturday at the Velveteen Rabbit. Haven't got tickets yet. There's still tickets available, which you don't have to buy. I'm going to say it now. Simply ask for them. If you message the page at the moment, ask for some tickets. We will get you in. Come and meet the boys. Have a chat. There's no podcast as such. Just be us getting to meet people that follow us, has given us their time to listen and go from there. So all the social media, go and give that a like, go and share it, things like that. Let's continue to grow. It's been phenomenal, the growth. Let's continue it. Jake, good night. Everyone listening, good night, good day, whatever it is. We will see you for the Tuesday night live show, which I'm sure will be another heated one, going off the talking points that we've already discovered from the week has just been. Good night.